Today we're going to be swapping out that boring leather steering wheel for a perforated leather, flat bottom steering wheel, or the optional carbon fiber, both available here at Steeda. Here we have the Steeda steering wheels fitting your 2018 to 2023 Mustang. We have both a perforated leather version with the red sightline, as well as a combo perforated leather and carbon fiber with the red sightline. Whether your car resides primarily on the street or the racetrack, upgrading your steering wheel is a great opportunity not only to increase the feeling you get as you're turning the wheel on the track or the street, but also the aesthetics too. Look at that carbon fiber, you have that weave. It definitely stands out against the stock steering wheel and many of the other aftermarket options out there. And even the leather perforated version, there's a lot of definition throughout the entire wheel that you'll feel constantly as you have your hands around the wheel, making turns and things like that. Much like we've seen on the GT350, 350R, as well as the GT500, having the red sightline at the top obviously serves as a visual reminder where the 12 o'clock of the wheel is, but adding the additional perforations and contours throughout the wheel give your hands a reminder as you're paying attention on the road in front of you of where exactly the wheel is as you're turning it. And like the new 2024 Mustangs, which obviously have the flat bottom steering wheel from the factory, these incorporate a flat bottom as well, provide a little bit more leg room, and again, provide that reminder as you're paying attention to your next turn coming up at your local racetrack, where that flat bottom is in relation to where you're turning the steering wheel. And in addition to that, you also have contours throughout the entire steering wheel. Whether you're driving at 10 and 2, 9 and 3, or at 12 o'clock, we have indentations all around the steering wheel to give you that ergonomic feel as a more pleasurable driving experience in your vehicle. If you're installing these on your 18 to 23 Mustang and you have a heated steering wheel from the factory, these steering wheels do not retain that function. Again, it's not really a big deal for those of you who live in the South like us, but if you're up north, it is one thing to keep in mind. The steering wheel will be shipped to you as you see it right here, which means you transfer your factory electronics over to the new steering wheel. We're gonna show you a very easy step-by-step installation exactly on how to do this. It really isn't too bad. Just follow the steps carefully and you'll be able to get your new carbon fiber or perforated leather steering wheel installed. Here are the tools required for installation. First, we need to disconnect the negative battery terminal. Wait at least 10 minutes after so all the capacitors have time to discharge. Inside the car, use a small Allen key to push the springs holding the airbag in place. Here you can see on the left what it looks like on the inside. Feel around and it may be easier to pop one side out and hold it just above where it latches back in. Go ahead and do the other side and then you'll be able to pull the entire airbag out. Carefully disconnect the 3 electrical connectors. A small flathead can pry up on the orange tabs. Then work your way around the connector and pull straight up. Be very careful not to damage these connectors. Then you can unplug the steering control harness. Now you can break the nut loose holding the wheel. And you can remove it completely. Then the wheel will be able to come off. You want to make sure this clock spring does not rotate on accident, so you can grab some painter's tape just to hold it in place. There are 11 torque screws that need to be removed. Then the top bezel can be pulled off. Then carefully pry the media controls off the wheel. And press the connector to disconnect it, as well as the other side. Pry the lowest silver bezel off from the bottom. There is one more screw holding the cruise control buttons, as well as the communication buttons. Disconnect the electrical connectors. Push against the outside of the rear plastic trim to remove it from the wheel. And the counterweight needs to be carefully pulled away. A pry tool can push against the rubber to get it through the hole. Then we'll transfer this over to the new wheel. The small Allen key we used earlier can help push the rubber through, but be careful not to poke through and break it. Transfer the wiring harness in the same orientation and routing onto the new steering wheel. The rear plastic can go into place. Make sure none of the wiring is being pinched. Push down on the outside. There are 2 posts that line up and click into place on the wheel. We'll begin transferring over all the electronics, starting with the cruise control. It may be easier for you to plug the connectors in before putting the modules in place. The lower bezel can be reinstalled now. Then the media controls. You want the 2 tabs to line up with the holes you see here. Get the screws hand tight as you work your way across the wheel. The top bezel can go back into place. You can get the last screws in. Make sure everything is tightened and flush, but not over tightened. Lastly, those springs holding the airbag need to be transferred over. A flathead and some support from behind will make sure it seats properly in the new wheel. Remove the tape from the clock spring, then feed the wiring through the top hole of the wheel. Go ahead and get the nut back on, and tighten it down. It can be torqued to 35 foot-pounds. The airbag connectors can be reconnected. They are color-coded so you don't get them backwards. Be careful and make sure they are properly seated, otherwise you will get an airbag light on the dash. Make sure those orange tabs are completely pushed in. Don't forget the third connection up top. Make sure the wiring behind is out of the way, then slowly get the airbag lined up and press it into place so you hear those springs lock in. After that, your installation's complete. It's one thing having these steering wheels sit on the workbench and talk about them. It's another thing to have it in front of you on the car. We went with the perforated leather for our HPDE car simply because the leather itself has a little bit more grip to it versus the carbon fiber when you're out on track, potential to be slippery if you're not wearing gloves and things like that. So the leather gives you a little bit more grip. Our team worked really hard on getting the right shape and right angles for this steering wheel. Regardless of their driving position, we wanted a steering wheel that gave great feedback no matter where their hands are on the wheel. And obviously when you're turning the wheel with speed, or whether it's an autocross, lots of quick motions, or nice and smooth out on the road course, you know exactly where you are, not only from that feeling of the flat bottom when you're shuffle steering, or the sight line up top, you have that visual indicator out of your peripherals where 12 o'clock is on the steering wheel. And whether it's the perforated leather or the carbon fiber version, both wheels have these indents on the back around 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock, which really feel great and fit nicely in between your fingers. In terms of installation, it really isn't that bad. Just make sure you unplug that negative battery terminal and be sure to wait that 10 minutes so the capacitors clear out of any additional power for the airbag module. But after that, you're ready to start your installation. Just take it step by step. Be very careful with the airbag. And aside from that, everything transfers over from your old wheel to your new wheel. It's super simple. Comment below and let us know what else you want to see on the S550 or S650 Mustangs. Any of these interior dress-up parts, we are all ears. Be sure to hit that like, subscribe, the notification bell, and don't forget the most important thing, speed matters.